Want to know one of the most misunderstood secrets about what truly turns women on? It's not the abs, it's not the car, it's not even the smooth talk, it's boundaries. Yes, strong, grounded, unapologetic boundaries. And here's the truth. Most guys never learn. Boundaries don't turn women off. They turn them on. But I'm not talking about fake alpha posturing or manipulative games. I'm talking about real masculine boundaries, the kind that come from deep self-respect, unshakable purpose, and a man who knows exactly who he is. In today's video, I'm breaking down 6 specific boundaries that trigger subconscious attraction in women, not through force, but through presence. These aren't power plays. They're clarity moves. And when you hold them, something shifts inside her. She feels it. She respects it. She responds to it back around, especially for boundary number 6. Because that one, it doesn't just protect your power. It redefines how she sees you. And more surprisingly, how she sees herself when she's with you. So let's dive in. Boundary 1, the unavailable advantage. Your time is yours. That's the first and most powerful boundary you can ever set. Now, at first, this one feels dangerous. You don't reply to her text right away. You don't drop everything when she calls. You don't rearrange your entire schedule just to be available for her on a whim. Your mind screams, wait, won't she lose interest? Won't she think I don't care? Won't she move on to someone who's more responsive? Actually, the opposite happens. When you're not always available, you send a message. Not with words, but with energy. My time has value. My life is already full. You're stepping into something that already has motion, meaning, and direction. That subtle tension, that slight uncertainty she feels about where she fits into your world, that mystery, it's magnetic. Because constant availability screams one thing. I've got nothing else going on. Scarcity creates value, it always has. And when a man becomes rare, he becomes irresistible. You don't chase her. You draw her in simply by holding space for your own life. Now tell me, have you ever been too available and watched her slowly lose interest? Drop the word guilty in the comments if that's ever happened to you, because this one change alone can shift your entire dating dynamic. Boundary 2, the no apology rule. Say no without guilt. This one boundary can change everything. Here's the psychological twist that most men miss. How you say no matters more than how often you say yes. Picture this. She invites you to something that doesn't align with your schedule or energy. You want to say no, but your gut says don't upset her. So you end up saying, I'm so sorry. I just may have this one thing and maybe I can move at it, but I'll try. I promise. You over-explain. You backpedal. You soften your truth until it barely sounds like a boundary anymore, and she feels it. Now compare that to this. Hey, I won't be able to make it, but I hope it's great. Let's catch up later this week. Polite, clear, confident, that's attractive. You didn't fidget. You didn't apologize for existing. You didn't ask for permission. You just owned your time. A man who can say no without guilt doesn't just protect his schedule. He communicates that he trusts himself. And in a world full of men trying to please everyone, that kind of self-rust, it's magnetic. Boundary 3, the respect reflect. Respect isn't something you demand. It's something you reflect. That's the stoic truth. A lot of men learn the hard way after being ignored, dismissed, or even disrespected by women they were trying to impress. But here's the real shift. When you respect yourself in action, not in words, you become someone she can't play with. Let's break it down. When a high-value woman meets a man, she's not just checking boxes. She's feeling for something. Call it gravity. Call it structure. What she's really looking for is how solid you are, whether your boundaries are real or just something you talk about after a few drinks. And this is where most guys lose themselves. They think respect is about being nice, about avoiding conflict, about giving her space while quietly hoping she'll come around. Wrong. Respect begins with you. If you don't hold it for yourself, she won't hold it for you. Let me show you how this plays out. Take Mark, 54, a marketing consultant from Denver. He started seeing Jessica, 48, a smart, confident woman who had been single for a while. Early on, she would cancel plans last minute, not rudely, but casually. Once she even rescheduled dinner because her dog seemed moody. Mark didn't get angry. He didn't argue, but the next time she texted to hang out, he replied simply, "Only if it's a confirmed night. My time matters too." That was it. No drama, no sarcasm, just a clear mirror. Jessica showed up on time that week and kept showing up consistently. After that, Mark didn't need to lecture her. He didn't need to explain what respect means. He just lived it. This is the stoic approach. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. Marcus Aurelius said it centuries ago, and it hits harder today than ever. Here's another example. Derek, 58, a retired Navy officer, was dating Erin, 50, an executive in finance, smart, assertive, sharp tongue. At a small dinner party, she playfully teased Derek about his old-fashioned style, mocking his blazer in front of friends. He didn't laugh. He didn't challenge her either. Later, when they were alone, he told her, "You're free to joke however you like, but I don't stay close to people who try to chip away at me in public." No yelling, no guilt trip, just a quiet standard. Erin didn't defend herself. She apologized and never crossed that line again. That's what this boundary is about. It's not about dominance. It's not about making her feel small. It's about reflecting back the level of energy you're given with clarity, calm, and non-negotiable self-respect. You see, women remember the men who stood firm. They may laugh in the moment, but deep down they clock every time. You don't flinch, and every time you do, if you react emotionally, pleading, over-explaining, trying to fix the moment, you lose the frame. If you stay composed and speak from principle, you gain her respect. And more importantly, you keep yours. Stoicism isn't about being cold. It's about not being shaken. And here's the thing. When you reflect, disrespect back through action, not attitude. You train the world how to treat you. And women, especially high-value women, they respect that far more than empty words or polished charm. Because what they're really watching for is whether you respect yourself enough to walk away from anything that doesn't match your energy. Let that. And if you've ever had to hold your tongue just to keep the peace, this is your moment to flip the script. Comment below. I hold frame. Stay with me. What's coming next might shift how you hold power without even saying a word. Boundary 4. The calm test. Women test, not to be cruel, not to play games, but to see what kind of man they're dealing with. And it's not always in your face. It might come wrapped in sarcasm, disguised as a joke, or hidden in silence. But make no mistake, she's watching your reaction. Because the moment you lose your calm, you lose control. And once that happens, the attraction starts slipping. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Women feel safest and most attracted when they sense that your emotions don't override your presence. Let me show you how this looks in real life. Nathan, 49, a construction project manager from Houston, had just started dating Lisa, 47, a successful realtor. She was charming, but she had a strong edge and loved to push buttons. During their 4th date, Lisa casually mentioned over dinner, "Most guys I date get jealous when they hear I still talk to my ex." Now, Nathan could have done what most men do. Get defensive, ask a bunch of questions, show he's different. Instead, he just sipped his wine, looked her in the eye and said, "Sounds like they didn't know how to hold their space." Then he smiled and changed the subject. That moment shifted everything. Why? Because Nathan passed the calm test. He didn't flinch. He didn't chase clarity. He stayed grounded in himself. That told Lisa more than any compliment or story ever could. Stoic philosophy teaches this. We are not disturbed by events, but by our judgments about them. Epictetus said that centuries ago, and it still holds in relationships. Your greatest asset is not your knowledge, your stories, or your success. It's your ability to stay calm under emotional pressure. Let's go deeper. Paul, 56, a retired firefighter, had been seeing Clara, 52, for a few months. One out of nowhere, she said, "Sometimes I feel like you're too emotionally reserved." I don't know if that's good or bad. That's a classic test. It challenges your identity, but it's not a real attack. It's her way of checking, are you reactive or are you rooted? Paul took a breath. He smiled slightly and said, "I'd rather be quiet than say something I don't mean. But if you're asking whether I feel something, I do." He didn't over-explain. He didn't get thrown off. Stood his ground with warmth. That's the magic of the calm test. You don't need to win it. You just need to not lose yourself in it. Because here's what's really happening. When she pokes, when she provokes, when she throws emotional curveballs, she's not hoping you break. She's hoping you don't. She's subconsciously scanning for stability. And if you pass that test by staying composed, breathing instead of reacting, holding frame instead of folding, you rise in her eyes without saying a word. Now, some guys confuse this with being cold or unfeeling. That's not it. Being calm isn't about not caring. It's about not collapsing. It's about mastering yourself so well that no outside force can shake what you've already decided inside. When you're that man, she feels it and she trusts it. Because what attraction pulls her in. It's your emotional gravity, your steadiness under pressure that makes her stay. If you've ever been thrown off by a woman's words or moods, this is your wake-up call to stop reacting and start holding presence. Comment below. I stay calm and stay with me. The next shift isn't loud, but it speaks volumes without saying a thing. Boundary 5, the authority silence. Sometimes the most powerful thing a man can say is absolutely nothing. It's not about the cold shoulder. It's not manipulation. It's about using silence as a statement, not reaction. This is what we call the authority silence. It's the moment you stop engaging with behavior that doesn't deserve a response. You don't argue, you don't explain, you don't defend, you let silence speak for your standard. Because here's what most men don't realize. When you respond to everything, you lower your energy. You become reactive. And in her eyes, that tells her you're not in control of yourself. Let's bring this into the real world. Gerald, 52, a real estate investor from Phoenix, had been dating Amanda, 49, for a few months. Things were going well, but Amanda had a habit she loved, pushing buttons in public. She'd say things like, "Don't be so serious all the time." Wow, Gerald's in one of his wise man moods again. Whenever he shared a grounded opinion, at first Gerald would laugh it off. Sometimes he'd play along, but deep down it chipped away at something. One night over dinner with friends, Amanda made another little jab, expecting the usual smirk. But this time Gerald didn't respond. No smirk, eye roll. He just looked at her calm, unreadable, and stayed silent. Then he turned to the others and shifted the conversation as if her comment was dust in the air. That one moment changed the dynamic. After the dinner, Amanda pulled him aside. "Are you upset?" Gerald replied. "Number, just not everything deserves my energy. No anger, no emotional lecture, just authority. That's what silence can do." In Stoicism, there's a concept called ataraxia, inner tranquility. It means your peace doesn't come from controlling others. It comes from mastering what you give your attention to. When you embody that, your silence becomes magnetic. It tells the world and her exactly who you are without saying a word. Let's look at another situation. Brent, 59, a financial advisor, was dating Renee, 51, a creative director. She was vibrant, passionate, but also impulsive. During a disagreement about weekend plans, she raised her voice, not aggressively, but emotionally. She threw out phrases like, "You never want to do what I want, and you're so distant sometimes." Most men would jump in, try to explain, defend, but Brent didn't flinch. He waited calm. And when the room settled, he simply said, "I don't talk when emotions are running the room. Let's revisit this when we're both steady." He got up, took a walk, left it there. Renee texted 20 minutes later, "I respect that. I lost my grip for a minute." That's the authority silence in action. And here's why it matters so much. It forces both people, slow down. It resets the energy. It protects your masculine frame. It teaches her that your attention is a privilege, not a given. Now, let's be clear. Silence is not about punishing her. It's not a weapon. It's a boundary, a calm one. One that says, "I won't argue to prove my value. I won't entertain chaos. I know who I am, and that's enough." When you hold this kind of space, high-value women feel it. They don't always like it in the moment, but they respect it deeply, because in a world of men who panic, plead, or overshare, you become rare. And in attraction, rarity is power. If you've ever felt like your words were falling on deaf ears, it might be time to stop talking and start standing. Comment below, I protect peace. And what's next? Let's just say it's the kind of boundary she feels before you even open your mouth. Boundary 6, the mission first code. There's one rule that separates grounded men: the ones who get lost in someone else's world. Your mission comes first, always. A lot of guys think this sounds selfish, but it's the opposite. When a man puts his mission first, he becomes the kind of man a high-value woman respects, desires, and follows. Let's break this down. When you start shifting your schedule, abandoning your goals, or reshaping your path to make her happy, what you're really saying is, my purpose is flexible. My identity is negotiable. That doesn't create desire. That creates emotional instability and over time resentment. Now let's see how this plays out in real life. Marcus, 47, owns a custom woodworking business in Denver. He's built it from scratch 20 years. He met Dana, 46, an interior designer, and things clicked fast. After a few weeks of dating, Dana started suggesting Marcus should ease up on weekend projects. Why don't you take more time off? She asked. You work too much. It's okay to relax. Now, Marcus enjoys downtime, but his weekends in the shop, that's where his purpose lies. That's when he's in flow. So instead of arguing, he calmly said, I get it, but this work isn't just business for me. It's who I am. It's how I build. He didn't flinch. He didn't apologize. And he didn't reschedule his life around her comfort. Guess what happened? Dana didn't walk away. She leaned in. She started asking questions. She started respecting his craft even more. Why? Because he showed her that his life wasn't up for debate. There's a deep stoic truth in this. A man without a mission is a leaf in the wind. But a man with a mission is a mountain. He doesn't move for comfort. He becomes the thing others lean on. Let's take another example. Thomas, 58, works in logistics. He's been running marathons for the last 15 years. It's part of his discipline, his clarity, his self-regulation. He started seeing Angela, 50, who was charming, spontaneous, fun, but also chaotic. She loved late nights, last-minute road trips, just go with the vibe weekends. At first, Thomas tried to keep up. He'd skip training, miss sleep in, and within a few weeks, his clarity slipped. His energy dropped. Angela noticed, "You're not yourself anymore," she said. And Thomas realized he'd abandoned his code, so re-entered. He set the tone. I care about you, but I've worked too hard to let go of the structure that keeps me sharp. This is non-negotiable. Angela's reaction. She didn't love it, but she respected it, because the moment he put the mission back on top, his energy shifted again. He stopped bending and started leading. This is the mission first code. It doesn't mean you ignore her. It means you don't betray yourself for temporary approval. It means your work, your goals, your health, your brotherhood, your inner growth, they are not optional. They are core. Because if a woman feels like she can pull you off purpose, loses trust in your ability to lead, and leadership, internal leadership, is what she craves deep down. When you show her that your life isn't just orbiting around her presence, she's either going to rise and meet you there or fall away. Either way, you win. You win your peace. You win your structure. You win your masculine integrity. And most of all, you stop becoming that man who says, I used to be focused before I met her. Let that never be you. If you've ever put someone else's comfort ahead of your calling, it's not too late to realign. Comment below, I lead with purpose, and if this boundary shook something loose in you, wait till the next one. It's not loud, but it changes how every woman perceives you instantly. Boundary 7, the no fixing rule. Here's a hard truth. You are not her therapist. You are not her savior. And you're definitely not her emotional janitor. One of the most draining mistakes strong men make is falling into the trap of fixing women, trying to solve her problems, trying to regulate her moods, trying to take responsibility for her chaos. But here's the stoic boundary that will save you. You do not fix her. You support her when it aligns with your integrity. Yes, but you never lose yourself trying to patch up someone else's life. Let's break this down. Meet Thomas, 57, a successful chiropractor, kind-hearted, grounded, but a classic rescuer. He started seeing Clarissa, 49, a beautiful, witty woman with a storm of emotional baggage. She was still bitter about her ex, still dealing with a toxic relationship with her daughter, still bouncing between career indecision and financial instability. Thomas, he went full white knight. He gave advice, bought her a new laptop, helped her draft the business plan she never followed through on. And each time she cried, he felt responsible for soothing her. But here's what happened. Clarissa started to expect him to fix things, and she lost respect for him in the process. Why? Because the moment you become a fixer, you lose polarity. You become her emotional assistant, not her romantic partner. And no high-value woman stays attracted to her assistant. This doesn't mean you become cold or unavailable. It means you understand where your responsibility ends. Stoicism teaches this beautifully. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Be tolerant with others, strict with yourself." He didn't say be responsible for others. He said be tolerant, observe, accept, and maintain your own balance. That's the no-fixing rule. Action. Let's take another case. Robert, 48, a seasoned sales executive, started dating Elise, 46. She had been through a rough divorce. There were trust issues, mood swings, occasional outbursts. But Robert did something different. He didn't try to heal her. He didn't try to coach her. He simply held space. When she vented about her ex, he listened. When she asked for advice, he asked, "Do you want me to fix this or just hear you out?" That one question alone flipped the dynamic, because Elise realized this was a man who respected himself enough not to carry someone else's emotional burden, and that made her respect him even more. Men, here's what you need to remember. Women do not want a man who tries to solve them. They want a man who stands strong beside them while they solve themselves. The fixing instinct is rooted in ego, not love. It says she's broken, I must save her. But high-value masculinity says she's capable. I'll witness, not rescue. Your boundary is not cruelty. It's clarity. Now I get it. Many of you have big hearts. You see someone in pain and it's second nature to jump in and offer solutions. But a stoic man asks himself, is this my storm to calm or hers to navigate? The answer defines your peace. When you set the no-fixing rule, something powerful happens. You attract women who take ownership of their emotions. You stop enabling cycles of drama, and you become the man whose presence alone brings calm, because you're not trying to do, you're simply being. So what does this boundary look like in practice? You don't rush to give advice unless it's requested. You don't make her moods your mission. You don't insert yourself where you weren't invited. Instead, you listen with presence. You observe with patience, and you speak only when it adds clarity, not control. This shift is subtle but magnetic, because when you stop fixing, you start respecting, and in return, you're respected. Not as her therapist, but as her equal. Not as her repairman, but as her rock. And here's the thing, the strongest relationships aren't built on rescue. They're built on resilience. Two whole people, two stable lives, not one man exhausted from holding it all together. So ask of yourself, are you trying to win her by solving her? Or are you standing tall, offering strength without sacrifice? Comment below with "I hold steady," and if you've ever felt like the emotional crutch in someone else's drama, you'll want to see where we go next, because the next principle will help you command attention without saying a single word. Boundary 8, the mystery principle. Let's be honest, most men overshare. They think if they tell her everything up front, it'll build trust. But what it actually builds is predictability, and predictability kills attraction. What you need instead is mystery, not manipulation, not withholding on purpose, but a steady, deliberate control of your story. That's the mystery principle. It's the boundary that makes a woman lean in because she can't quite figure you out. And in a world where men are either too loud or too desperate, that silence, that restraint, it becomes power. Let me show you what this looks like. Paul, 52, runs his own design firm, divorced for 5 years. He recently started dating again. On his first few dates, he made the classic mistake talking too much. He talked about his past marriage, his health scare 3 years ago, his daughter's college fund, all before the drinks even arrived. He thought, I'm just being open. Oh, but what she heard was, here's my life all at once. Hope you like it? Then he met Maria, 47, an architect, strong, curious, intuitive. This time he held back, not out of fear, but out of discipline. When she asked about his past, he said with a small smile, that's a long story. Maybe I'll tell you someday. When she asked what made him happiest in life, he paused and said, I'm still figuring that out. He wasn't avoiding connection. He was inviting curiosity. Mystery is not about being a riddle. It's about pacing your truth. When you do that, you trigger her imagination. And imagination is the engine of desire. Why does this work so well? Because humans don't crave what's handed to them. We crave what's just out of reach. We crave the climb. The Stoics understood this. Epictetus said, practice silence. For in silence, the soul finds discipline. Mystery isn't a performance. It's presence. It's a choice not to explain everything, to allow a woman the space to observe, interpret, and explore you over time. And it separates the high-value man from the crowd. You ever notice how the most attractive people in the room aren't necessarily the loudest? They don't need to tell stories. Their energy speaks. Their restraint invites interest. Mystery isn't cold. It's confident. Let me give you another example. Derek, 49, former Navy officer turned leadership consultant, was dating a younger woman, Natalie, 42, an assertive marketing VP. She was used to getting answers, direct, fast. But Derek didn't play that game. She once asked him what his longest relationship was. He smiled and replied, let's not rush the autobiography just yet. She laughed, but her interest doubled because the answer revealed just enough to be real, but not enough to be known. And men, here's the truth. Once she knows you too fast, she boxes you in. She labels you, predicts you, and the game's over. But when you hold back, not out of fear, but purpose, she senses it. She knows you have depth. She just doesn't know how deep. And that's what makes her come back for more. So how do you apply the mystery principle? You don't answer every question. You don't fill every silence. You don't post your entire life on a first date. You keep some things private, some things sacred, not to be secretive, but to be selective, because not everyone deserves the full access pass. And here's the truth. Mystery is magnetic when it's real, not when it's fake, confidence, or games, but when it comes from inner peace, when it comes from knowing that you are enough even without full disclosure. Now pause and ask yourself, are you the kind of man who lets a woman earn the deeper layers of you? Or are you the man who puts all his cards on the table by the second glass of wine? If you want her to invest, give her a reason. Give her the feeling that there's more to you and that she hasn't even scratched the surface. Because when you do that, she won't just listen. She'll lean in. That's the power of mystery. That's the kind of boundary that doesn't push her away. It pulls her closer because she wants to know the man behind the silence. Comment below with, I protect mystery. And if you're wondering how this plays out in the moments where words fall short, you'll want to stick around for what comes next. It's not what you say, it's how you carry the space between saying anything at all. Boundary 9, the touch control signal. Let's talk about something subtle but incredibly powerful. Something that separates the grounded man from the needy one. Touch. Not full-blown intimacy. Not flirtation for show. I'm talking about the micro moments. A graze on the arm, a hand resting briefly on the shoulder, the proximity of your body when you lean in or don't. Touch reveals everything. High V-value women pick up on this faster than you think, because for them, it's not just physical, it's energetic. Touch can either project calm confidence or silent desperation. And unfortunately, most men, especially those who've been out of the game for a while, have lost touch with, well, touch. Let's walk through this. There's a man I know, Thomas, 51, divorced for 4 years, works in finance, keeps in shape, thoughtful guy. He started seeing Danielle, 48, a high-level corporate trainer. Their first 2 dates were smooth, good chemistry, respectful space. But on the third date, when she laughed and tapped his knee during a story, he panicked. He thought, this is my moment. So he leaned in too close, touched her hair gently, and tried to keep contact going. She smiled politely, but withdrew, not just physically, but emotionally. The rest of the evening, she was distant, and she never followed up again. Thomas didn't cross any obvious lines. He wasn't aggressive or crude. He just failed the touch control signal. Why? Because he acted from eagerness, not equilibrium. Women don't just feel your touch, they feel why you're touching them. Let me flip it. Greg, 56, a semi-retired architect, had dinner with Melissa, 47, a former dancer turned yoga instructor. They clicked intellectually and emotionally. Halfway through the night, she playfully rested her hand on his forearm. Greg didn't rush. He didn't lean in or escalate. He simply looked at her calmly, smiled, not a smirk, not a grin, but a knowing smile, and continued the conversation. Later, when they stood to leave and she offered a hug, he pulled her in slowly, hand firm on her back. Not suggestive, but grounded, and she lingered. A woman senses whether a man is grounded in his own energy or if he's reaching for hers to stabilize himself. That's where stoicism comes in. The stoic doesn't flinch under stimulus. He observes. He chooses. He leads. Epic said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." That includes mastering your hand, your reflex, your impulse to reach out just to feel okay. The touch control signal is a form of nonverbal leadership. You're telling her without a single word, I don't need anything from you, but I choose to connect when it feels right. And sometimes the most powerful touch is no touch at all. Let's say she gets playful and nudges you. You don't jump, you don't chase, you smile. Let the moment hang in the air. Then either return the energy later on your terms or let it dissolve. She'll notice because you're not reacting. You're choosing. That's the signal. That's the standard. And it's rare. The average man thinks she touched me, she wants more. The wise man thinks she touched me, she's watching how I respond. Big difference. This boundary says, I am not governed by your warmth. I am not chasing your green light. I am the source of my own pace, and you are welcome to meet me there. Women crave this kind of polarity. It signals maturity, discipline, power. So here's the mindset shift. You don't touch because the moment's hot. You touch because you own the moment. And when you do that, you flip the entire dynamic. If you've ever felt like you pushed too fast or hesitated out of fear, this boundary is for you. Let her feel your stillness before she ever feels your hand. Comment below. I move with intent. And the next idea coming up, let's just say, if you've ever wondered how to make her lean in, before you even speak, you'll want to keep watching. Boundary 10, the look that ends the game. Some boundaries are spoken, some are felt, but the most powerful ones are seen. Not in words, not in chorus, but in the look that stops her breath, the look that ends the guessing game, the look that says, I know who I am. Do you? The silent line a high-value man draws without lifting a finger. It's not about intensity, it's about presence. That dead calm behind your eyes when everything around you is noise. But inside you're steel. Women notice it, because in a world full of men who react, a man who observes becomes unforgettable. Let's talk about how this works. Walk into a room not searching, not needing, not scanning. You're not avoiding eye contact, but you're not chasing it either. And when your eyes do meet hers, you don't flinch. You don't grin. You don't overplay the moment. You pose just enough to register that you saw her, and then you return to your world. That is the look.
Michael,
54, executive in logistics, had been on dates for months with no traction. He kept asking friends, what's wrong with my vibe? The answer came from a woman he casually met at a gallery. Sophie, 49, ex-lawyer turned writer. She told him, weeks later, you didn't try to impress me. You looked at me like I was just another part of the landscape, and that made me want to stand out. His look said, I'm already full, and that paradoxically made her want to pour into him. Let's break this down in Stoic terms. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." When your mind is grounded, your face reveals it. When your thoughts are calm, your gaze carries power. The Stoic gaze is not cold, it's clear, not angry, but unshakable. It's a boundary because it says without saying, I don't explain myself. I don't perform. I don't chase validation. It's a screen. It filters out women who play games and draws in those ready for real. Let's say you're on a date, she tests you. Maybe she challenges your opinion. Maybe she flirts with the waiter to trigger you. Maybe she delays responding to a compliment. Most men either get defensive or try harder. You pose, you give her the look, not harsh, not arrogant, just still. You say through your presence, I see you, not fazed. I'm still here. That moment is a reset. It shifts the energy. It ends the need for words. The game collapses. Why? Because most women are waiting for a man who doesn't play. She's tested dozens of men and she's tired. When you give her that look and mean it, you're saying you're beautiful, you're bold, but I am not for entertainment. I am not your project, I am your mirror. And that ends the game. You've just put down a boundary that doesn't require follow-up. So the next time you lock eyes, don't look to impress, look to measure. Then let her feel the weight of a man who's already chosen himself. Because when you've built that presence, she'll remember your gaze long after the night ends, and she won't be looking for the next thrill. She'll be wondering if she passed your test. No need to say more. Just hold the line and let the look speak for you. If any of this has made you pause, if something deep down said, this is what I've been missing, then it's time to stop. Watching from the sidelines, you're not here just to collect ideas. You're here to live them, to draw the line, to hold your power, and to attract the kind of woman who respects that power, not drains it. So if this video spoke to you, don't just walk away. Hit that subscribe button. This isn't a one-time talk. It's a movement. Thank you for spending your time with me today. I appreciate you more than you know.